Welcome to the Spiritual Lit meeting. Each week, we're honored to host powerful speakers from around the world, sharing their stories, experiences, and hope with us. All of our speakers are recorded and shared through the Enogram YouTube channel and the audio speaker WhatsApp group, so the message can reach those who need it. If you're listening to this recording and you're struggling, you're seeking help, or simply have a question, please do not hesitate to reach out. You can contact us anytime at spirituallit24@gmail.com, and we promise to get back to you. And tonight, we've invited Terry M. and Father John B. to share their experience on the topic, a sense of duty, for the next 50 minutes. After that, the meeting will be opened for Sharon back. We will give you a sign 10 minutes before the time's up, Terry and John. Thanks so much for making the time to come on and share your experience with us. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to whoever speaks first. I think that's gonna be I think Terry or John. I'll both ask you to unmute there.
I think Terry's gone first.
All right, awesome. We'll put a little
Hello,
time.
everyone. My name's Terry, and I'm an addict. So good to be here with all of you. I'm so grateful for this meeting, for all of you, so many old friends here. When I think of just having gotten over a horrible bout of COVID, I thought about when COVID first came around. And when it first reared its ugly head, I saw a cartoon maybe 6 months into the coronavirus. And it was a drawing of the devil and God sitting side by side. And the devil says, ha, 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 I closed down all of your 12-step meetings. And God smiled and he said, yeah, but we've opened thousands more on Zoom. And that's how this thing works, right? So who would have thought that Spiritually Lit would have been born from that? And who would have thought that I go to meetings all the time, but I haven't been to a meeting since I got sick. I was in a Cocaine Anonymous Public Information Committee meeting when I started to feel rough, made sure I didn't hug anybody, and I split and then woke up the next day sick. So I had not been into a meeting until last night. I got a message and I clicked on the link, and the next thing you know, I'm in a meeting. And there were only 4 people in it, but it felt so alive to me. And when you think of the topic of a sense of duty, that those men had no idea that they had ministered to me in such a significant way. So the power of our program, the way that we have now incorporated Zoom technology plus our face-to-face meetings, I think anyone looking at Spiritually Lit could look across the global horizon of Cocaine Anonymous, and no one could argue with the fact that we are better today because of that virus. So who would have ever thought that becoming a drug addict would end up being the most important and beautiful thing that ever occurred in my life? Nowhere as a child with a boy, I was so filled with life and so full of dreams. I used to love to run. I used to love to chase the clouds. I was so alive. A summer day would set my soul on fire. And man, I had such a great life. And then I'm going to be 70 years old really soon here. And I was born at a time where there was just all of a sudden drugs were everywhere. Everywhere you turn, people were getting high. In America, we have ice cream trucks. I don't know if you got them in Europe, or they drive around the neighborhood and they play a little happy song and all the kids come running out and you give the man some money and they give you ice cream. Well, in my neighborhood, the song, we'd all go running out, and when the man, I would hand him the money, he would hand me back drugs. And It was so cool. In fact, Van Halen came from the same neighborhood that I grew up in, and they've got a song goes, "I'm your ice cream man. Stop me as you're passing by. I got all kinds of flavors guaranteed to satisfy." And I knew what he was talking about. We had the same ice cream man. So, who would have thought that something that was so wonderful, like drugs were, now, how did they turn on me in such a vicious way? How did the pursuit of that ultimate good feeling turn around, like Bill used in the beautiful big book, like a boomerang that came back to cut me to shreds? And just as I was approaching an early grave, I had a wife that I loved. Many of you know my smoking hot wife, Donna. Donna is one of the kindest, most beautiful people you could ever meet. And I loved her with all my heart. And the two boys she gave me meant the world to me. But yet, drugs were more important than they were. If anybody would have told me, "Hey, Terry, we're going to destroy your family. I'm going to rip your wife and children to shreds. I'm going to destroy their heart, their spirit, their souls. I'm going to wound and injure them in the most horrific ways." I would have said, like, "Fuck you are. I will kill your ass. I will die to defend my family. I would kill to protect them." And then, as a result of someone working their 12th step on me, I was introduced to this thing called Cocaine Anonymous. See, I did not find you, you found me. And my sense of duty to that, I pray I never lose, because I want to spend the rest of my life trying to give back to the people who came and literally saved me from that early grave. And as a result of doing this step work, what I recognized is that at night I would always lock the doors to keep my family safe. And what I really was doing was I was locking the monster on the inside. That the person who was destroying the family was me. It was the father, the husband, the protector, the provider. Oh, what these drugs do to a human soul. What they did to mine, what they did to yours, I assume, and why you're here. And then all of us here have been touched by grace, living angels, 12-step angels, people that didn't take their recovery and put it in their pocket. They didn't take the amazing grace, how sweet the sound, that saved a wretch like them. They didn't take it and hold on to it just for themselves. They took it and they went in search of other people just like themselves who were out there dying. And this man worked his 12 step on me. And the results and the reverberations of that man's 12 step work, his sense of duty. The guy who worked his 12 step on me was in a pawn shop in Phoenix, Arizona. And he put my well being in front of his commerce. I was selling my Bose speakers to him to get more money to keep my crack run going. And he looked at me and he said, "Dude, I don't know if you're in trouble or not." And I thought, "Oh, shit, one more lecture coming my way. No." But he flipped it on me. What it says in our book is an alcoholic armed with the truth about themselves can enter the place no one else could go. Not punishment couldn't go, not handcuffs, not court martials, not police, not counselors, not therapists, not even love could penetrate that place. I was locked in my own man made hell until this man set me free. He answered his call of duty. And what he said was, dude, I don't know if you're in trouble or not. And he flipped it. He said, I used to be in trouble. And he told me what was wrong with him. And he told me how he had encountered this amazing grace called the 12 steps and how his life had changed. So, because of the work that he did for me, I'm here sharing that good news with you as one more part of that continuum. And it is the most amazing thing to be able to be a part of something as beautiful and as important as this. I owe my life to Cocaine Anonymous. I owe everything that I have to the people that stood guard and were there to help the still suffering. And I'm going to turn it over right now to my dear friend and my sponsor, Father John. He's going to go for a while on the sense of duty. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Terry. I'm John. I'm an alcoholic and addict. Good to be with y'all. And whoever started this meeting clearly had a sense of duty and a willingness to carry the message way beyond the borders of one meeting, one city, one town, even one country. So thank you very much for that. And, in the 12th step, it says we carry this message to the alcoholic who still suffers, the addict who still suffers, and practice these principles in all our affairs. Well, why would we do that unless we had a sense of duty? And I know the tremendous gift that has been given to me in sobriety. And I know that I want to give that to other people. And what I think about today is three different moments that really showed me what a sense of duty looks like. The first was way back when I was 12-stepped. The man who 12-stepped me had 2 years sober. And I was very grateful. His willingness to take me to a meeting, to explain it. There was also a man there who had 44 years sober, who even took me a little bit further into the rooms. And those first 90 days were always instructive because they kept coming to pick me up, take me to a meeting, take me out afterwards, call me up, make suggestions to me, get a sponsor, work the steps, pray, go to a meeting, don't take the first drink. And at one point I said to them, gee, you're also very kind to me. And they said, no, this for us is keeping it green. This for us is the way that helps us to stay sober. And it was the first time I really started to understand, what their motivation was. And their motivation was a sense of duty to themselves, to the alcoholic, the addict who still suffers, and to just society in general. And that left a deep impression on me, and that right away kicked me into service in the fellowship, in the programs. Flip ahead about 12 years after that, I moved to a new town where Terry lived, and I went to his place of business, and he was selling me his product. I didn't know who he was. He barely knew who I was. And he knew I was a pastor in the church. And he just simply said to me, if you ever need any help dealing with an alcoholic or an addict, just please call me. And I kind of smiled and I looked at him. I said, well, I'm a friend of Bill's too. And that little sense of duty that he had, that in any way possible that he could reach out to help the alcoholic, he was willing to do it. And, that started a great friendship and a whole lot of wonderful things that would happen in the decades that followed that. And then if I just skip ahead to just a couple days ago, I got a phone call from members of my church, and they said, we haven't heard from our son in a couple days. We think something's wrong. And this is a man who was seriously into drinking. And we had tried to give him the program, offered it to him. And when they called me, I knew exactly what had happened. I knew exactly how this would end. And so we went over to the apartment, and I knew before I walked in the door what I was going to find. Him dead on the floor, naked, vomit, blood, empty alcohol bottles everywhere. And that's what it was. So that gives me an even deeper sense of duty. I hate seeing that. I don't want to see it. And I keep saying to myself, it doesn't have to be this way. Now, I know that he lost the power of choice a long time ago. And for whatever reason, he couldn't grab for the lifeline of the program that we all have reached out to. For whatever reason, he couldn't open himself to that grace. And that's mysterious to me. But when I see scenes like that, I want to continue to have that sense of duty. I just don't like seeing that. And we know that there are other outcomes other than that one. And every one of us here in this meeting is a testimony that there is another outcome. There are other possibilities. So when we talk about a sense of duty, to me, it's a big responsibility. One of the sayings, whenever someone reaches out for help, I want the hand of Cocaine Anonymous or AA to be there. Well, that's us. That's us. And people often said to me, you have a right to be in that chair, but I also have a duty to make sure that there's a program where there can be a chair for someone who needs it. And that's what is our sense of duty. It's what we do. It's who we are. And the topic of this meeting is really great because it forces us to look outside ourselves, outside our own meetings, outside our own clubhouses, to ask, how can I be of service? How can I be of service to all those who still suffer and to their families? Am I putting myself in that position where that's possible? Terry did it, in so many different ways. And it wasn't in a meeting. It wasn't when somebody asked him for help. It was just, hey, I'm available. If somebody has this problem, I'm willing to help. And the more you become known that way, it's amazing the things that pass across your desk. The phone calls that you get, the family members that you get. I remember years ago, I was at my church after the service. There was a lady waiting there, and I could see her out of the corner of my eye and knew she was waiting to talk to me. So everybody left, and she said to me, could I talk to you? I said, yeah. She said, my son is dying from crack cocaine, and I heard that you could help. And, that man is sober today, I don't know how many years, 18 years, something like that. But she didn't know much about me, but she knew that much, that somehow I could help somebody who had an issue with drugs or alcohol. So that's where our sense of duty becomes really important, is that we're willing to extend ourselves beyond the rooms of the program so that this great gift that's been entrusted to us, we could spread far and wide. And we can help people find the better outcome. The jails, the institutions, the insanity, the death is not the only outcome. And being in the rooms long enough proves it again and again and again and again. So I always try to put myself in that place. God, help me be as best as I can of service to my fellow human beings. And that's everybody. It's not just the fellows, the men and women who come to the rooms that I know in sobriety. It's really the entire group of people that I come in contact with or meet. That in some way, big or small, I can be of service. And if the topic comes up, if there's a way to work it in, then then I do that. So sense of duty undergirds our 12th step in everything we do. And the nice part about it is it's not a drudgery. It's not just an obligation. There are times where it felt like that. There were times where it was like, I just got to do this. I may not feel like it, but more often than not, it's been a wonderful opportunity. And it's been filled with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of fun. And when you see the success that can happen, it just pulls you to want more and more and more and to share with another person. It is possible. Life of recovery is possible. But it all has to start with somebody somewhere having a sense of duty that they're willing to be available for a 12-step call. They're willing to sit down with a family member to explain to them what is exactly happening to their loved one and what they could do to help, and to make yourself just available so that they could come to us, ask the questions, we could point the way, and hopefully guide them into the beautiful streams of recovery and love that we find in our fellowship. So there's an awful lot of work to do. This meeting is a great kind of step up because it's taking us out in a big way and inspiring us to do what we need to do all throughout the world. And that can have serious ripples, not just for the addict, but for our world in general. And when you do that, and when you have family members that come up to you and thank you for helping to save the life of their loved one, well, there's no better reward for living that sense of duty than just hearing that thank you, just seeing that calm, that peace, that serenity on someone who has lived the nightmare of addiction. Sense of duty has got to permeate who we are and what we do and how we see our program. And if you lose touch with it, you're really losing touch with the gratitude that keeps you sober. And the saying is always, if I want to keep it, I have to give it away. And that's a truism that we can't lose sight of. It's a truism that we have to embrace every single day and find ways, small ways, big ways, whatever ways God sets up for you that cross your path, to give away what we've been freely given. I'll turn it back over to Terry.
Thanks, John. It's when me and Father John were talking yesterday about this beautiful topic that was selected for us. Right away, John said, that's the 12th step. That's the essence of it. And when we answer the call, there's no way you can tell what the results are going to be. My heart broke as you told the story of what you discovered yesterday. And then it took me back in time to my own nephew, Tom, who had spent his life in the bottle. And he was a beautiful guy, man. So beautiful. My oldest sister's son. And I did everything I could. He moved in with us, and all my friends worked their 12-step on him. And we took him to meetings and did everything we could. But he kept pushing back, no matter how hard we tried to introduce him to this beautiful thing, this new life. He kept reaching for the bottle. And we found him the exact same way, laying there dead, naked, bile, blood, all the horrors of an alcoholic death that's described in the big book. And the empty vodka bottle was pointed at his head like you would hold a gun to your head just before you pulled the trigger. And I went and I took a cross. I love that I have rediscovered my faith. I grew up in a Catholic church, And then in my addiction, pushed back against anything that had to do with anything other than a drink of alcohol or a hit of dope. But it had just been past Palm Sunday, and I had this beautiful palm that his mother had actually made a cross for me out of the palm frond. And I'd taken the cross she gave me and I kept it. And she had died of cancer about a year before that, but I kept that cross. And then when they were ready to put my nephew's body into the bag, I said, I got something. I went out, I had to find something, and I found that cross and I placed it on his forehead. I took a picture of the cross though before I took it in. And when I looked at the photograph later that night, it like glowed. It was like, whoa, what was that? And I love what Cocaine Anonymous does in a human life. When I think of what happened in my own story, and Dr. Bob knew it, and at the end of his beautiful story, because I think the big book ends on page 181 at his story, and he said, I spend a great deal of time passing on what I learned to others who want and need it badly. I do it for 4 reasons. 1, sense of duty. 2, it is a pleasure. 3, because in doing so, I am paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me. And 4, because every time I do it, I take out a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip. So here we are in a meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. You're wherever you're at in the world. And when I think of unbelievable stories of healing and transformation, I think of all of you and so many of you whose stories I know so well. But on our Zoom with us today is Ken C. I didn't even recognize you, Ken. You have hair for the first time. I haven't been on a Zoom with you in a while, as you have had this terrible battle of cancer for all of these years. But you talk about the ultimate sense of duty. So a handful of people got together and started this thing called Cocaine Anonymous. And because of that, my life was touched through a man in a pawn shop in Phoenix, Arizona in May 23rd, 1991. And because of that man and the message, every person I've ever carried the love of CA to has gotten a piece of that as well. And this literally this pebble in the pond that keeps rippling. So I have quite a life today. So this sense of duty in serving others, I have received a life that's so far beyond my wildest dreams. My little granddaughter Nora is going to be 4 pretty soon, and when she was born, just before she was born, she was diagnosed with a horrible disease called brittle bone disease. And they said that her leg was broken in the womb and that she was already suffering and already in pain, and that she would only live a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 at the most. And they said that she was going to be a little person. And they said, we're so sorry. And my whole family was just devastated. What do you do with some of the pain we all touch, right? Every single person on this call has got something going on, or a loved one who is experiencing some kind of a difficulty. The Buddha said that if we were all to sit together and in our gatherings, all place our troubles in a big bowl at the center of our table. When we were done sharing, we would all want to take our problems back. And so when we bring, is one of my favorite things my sponsor said was, when you share joy, you double it. When you share a pain, you cut it in half. And you know what, man, I didn't know what to do with all this pain around my granddaughter. So I turned to all of you and I asked for your prayers. And literally, I got them, man. I've been all over the place at Cocaine Anonymous. I had one guy come out so bold. He goes, "In the name of Jesus Christ, no harm shall become this child." I go, whoa. And then another guy who I carried the message to at the first ever CA convention in Spain. And he said he had gone on to become a shaman in Africa. And he said, "I've drenched myself in chicken blood at the African moonlight, and this child is protected and safe." And all these prayers came in from all over the world. And in less than 24 hours, the doctor called back and said, "I don't know how to explain this. Your granddaughter, Nora, she's got your granddaughter, she has achondroplasia. She's going to be a little person, but she doesn't have brittle bone disease. I don't know. I can't explain this." I was so troubled by the diagnosis. I had my work rechecked by other doctors, and they came back and they said, "Yeah, she's got achondroplasia, but there's no brittle bone disease." And the doctor said it had to have been either the angle of the camera that showed the broken leg, a shadow, or my mistake. I just can't explain it. And I looked at my beautiful wife, Dawn, and I smiled and I said, "I can explain it, because we see miracles every day." And it doesn't mean that every prayer is answered that way. I've had, I prayed for my nephew Tommy, right? And you know how his story ended. But the deal is that we bring our love to one another, and the love is the power. Love is what fuels the sense of unity. It's what gives me the desire to want to continually reach my hand out to the new person, to be available for the still sick and suffering, because of you, I have life. And that is all an extension of those meetings when they sat around at a coffee shop and read the first time somebody had sent a piece of literature that was, who is an addict, who is a cocaine addict. And when Ken tells the story of that reading, it brings me to tears. And it was in that moment when the world turned its back on all of those addicts in Southern California, they gathered together like we're gathering together here at Spiritually Lit. And they did something about it. They took an action. And they went and they signed papers and formed a corporation and got a meeting hall and pushed against odds that are almost unimaginable. But the power of one, when guided by God, life and history are filled with stories. And so the idea that we have this fellowship today that has grown into this incredible thing. And every time I think of some new miracle or new challenge. So my little granddaughter's had plenty of challenges in these years. And just a couple months ago, we got a new one. And she was diagnosed with apraxia, which is a neurological speech disorder. And talking is hard for her. But I wasn't afraid at all, because I've been around her and she understands, and she has so much love in her heart. And I know that if you can feel love and you can share love, then you can overcome anything. And I've watched this little girl meet those challenges. And lo and behold, we look for who are the best people in this field of medicine. I live off of Lindsay Road in Gilbert, Arizona. And guess where the top apraxia center is in the world? On Lindsay Road in Gilbert, Arizona, right down the street. And I get to drive my grandbaby and I go to the speech lessons with her. And I sit in the room with her and the therapist as she learns how to talk better. And I get to learn to listen better. And I get to watch the amazing grace of what Ken and those people did in 1992. And what they did in 92 that created a pathway for me in 1991 that is working its 12th step on Nora. Every time I take her to therapy, it's 3 times a week. And I just get to sit there and I get to experience more of this amazing grace. So Cocaine Anonymous is a power. And we're all spiritually lit and plugged into it right now. My sense of duty is fueled by your love and also by the prodigious results that we see everywhere you look in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. You will see love and you will see people walk through the fire and you will see triumph. And sometimes you'll see a lot of sadness. We'll hold each other up when we cry and we'll lift each other up when we're having the good times. And together we create something beautiful. So, John, bring us home with this incredible topic, please. Love you.
Thank you, Terry. We could see Terry has a little painting there of Howard P., one of the great men of this program. And Saturday I was with a group of young people in recovery, and this young lady said to me, I just read this really good book. I said, well, what's it called? It's called Life on a Frozen Lake by Howard P. And I started laughing. And I said, I knew Howard very well. And I kind of laughed. Howard's been dead several years now, but his message, because he had a sense of duty to write some of his stuff down, which is pretty profound, continues to carry the message. And that's a beautiful thing. And if you're familiar with the story of the book, Howard always would tell this story that he got in one of his meditations, that he was pictured himself about to walk across a frozen lake. But he hesitated with every step because he didn't know how thick the ice was and whether or not the ice would crack and he'd fall into the lake. And then he heard this voice say to him, Howard, the ice is as thick as the laws of physics will allow it to be, which meant you could drive a truck across the ice and it wouldn't crack. And he often used that as an analogy for the spiritual life. And if we trust that the spiritual life is able to sustain us, then no matter what we face in life, we're able to get through. And so the program teaches us how to accept life on life's terms and how to live it no matter what circumstances are thrown at it. If I truly believe in the power of the program and of the steps to support me as I move forward. Granted, there are times where I'm not sure what the next step is going to be. Fear grips me, but I have to keep going back to hear stories like Terry just told about his granddaughter, that we can trust that the spiritual life will carry us through if we allow it to do that for us. And there's another piece to I think all of this that really strikes me these days, and where it says in the book, we are people who normally would not mix, and that's true as far as it goes, and yet we do, and yet we do. I often think of this. Here I am, right, a Catholic priest in the U.S., sober. And one of the people I became best friends with in the program was a little Jewish lady from London, Jackie S., who was one of the people who brought Cocaine Anonymous to Europe. And we became great friends over the years. We were from two different worlds we would never have mixed, not because we had animosity towards each other. Our worlds, our paths would have never crossed. But as a result of that friendship, we were able to accomplish a lot. We did a lot of retreats in different places over the years. We helped a lot of people. And looking at the world situation, it's become so tribal that we don't mix. And I keep thinking, how do I carry the spirit of AA into the world at large? If I have that sense of duty, I know that the gift has not just been given to us, but been given to us to share. And I'm really grateful AA sets that example for me because it's opened my world and expanded my world and helped me to understand all sorts of points of view. But more than that, be able to help to love people who I maybe wouldn't consider because they were too different than me. They had different opinions than me. Cocaine Anonymous really has helped me to see the commonality of our humanity. And when we focus on that, we focus on the love that we can carry to another person to help them. And that's what's really amazing because there's nothing that really blocks us from doing that except our own fears, our own biases. So because we put ourselves in that one situation, because we have two really important things, our primary purpose and our willingness not to engage in outside controversies, it enables the rooms to be a place of great peace and great refuge. And we can take that spirit into the world at large. So sense of duty I just always think we have to expand it somehow. We have this tremendous gift that we've been given, and unless we find ways to share it, we don't move forward. So, where would we be if Bill didn't have a sense of duty and find Bob? Who would we be if Johnny S. didn't have a sense of duty? Where would we be if people like Jackie didn't have a sense of duty to bring Cocaine Anonymous across the pond over to Europe, and there's a whole list of people that we could go on and on about. We wouldn't have gotten very far, but today we have gotten far. So I like to look at myself and think, okay, how could I expand this? How can I carry this message not just to the person who still suffers, to their family member? How can I bring the same love and tolerance that I have for people that sit in the rooms with me to other people who I just happen to meet and maybe have very different points of view from me. And I believe if we do that, we create something quite beautiful. And those ripple effects will continue to spread. And, Jesus said, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a bushel basket. They put it on a lampstand for all to see. And the question that we have is how exactly do we do that? How do we let people know we're here? The door is open. You can contact us. Because the problem keeps getting worse, right? I always think that Satan's best characteristic is he's a really good chemist. Right? Came up with alcohol, gave us heroin. We had cocaine, and then he fine-tuned cocaine to crack to make it even more deadly, methamphetamine. Today we got a whole new crop of crap that's out there, fentanyl, nilazine, kratom, and it just keeps coming at us. So there's always going to be people who need what we have. The doors always have to be open. So think back to whoever it is that 12-stepped you, whoever reached out their hand to you, whoever made that phone call, whoever picked you up to take you for your first meeting. That was someone who had a sense of duty. Think of yourself. Who have you reached out to? Who have you taken to their first meeting? Who have you walked the steps through with? Who have you sat down and listened to their fifth step? And that confirms that you have a sense of duty too. And then think beyond that and ask God in your prayer, how can I be of greater service? How can I allow this, what you have given to me freely, to give to as many others as I possibly can? We just can't forget our legacy of where we've come from. We know the big names, but there's so many anonymous people. We have no idea who they are, but they were the ones that carried the message. And I'll close with this final story. For years, we used to take a meeting to remote communities. And where we live here in Arizona, there's a lot of remote places, a lot of rural places. So we drove probably about 2 hours to this meeting in this very small, it was a mining town, and it was in the local library. And we get there, and there's one woman there. And we said, we're here for the AA meeting. Is it still here? She said, oh, yes. We have it every Wednesday night. And she introduced herself. She was a member of Al-Anon. She was not an alcoholic. And she said, my husband got sober at this meeting. He's since passed on. And I am so grateful for what Alcoholics Anonymous did for my husband that I wanted to make sure this meeting is open. So I come here, even though we're a small town and we maybe only get 1 or 2 people now and then, I want these doors to be open. Now, that woman had a sense of duty, and she wasn't even, an addict or an alcoholic. And she just stays with me because I'm thinking, man, if she did it, why shouldn't I? If she understood what the gift that had been given to her husband was, then who are we to pass over that? And there's people like that all over the place that you meet. They're quiet, they don't brag about it, but they're doing the work because they have a sense of duty and this willingness to keep it going, to keep it moving forward. Find those people, or actually be one of those people. Maybe nobody will know about you, but God will. He'll know what you're doing, and He'll send the people to cross your path that only you can help. And as you do it, we kind of keep building this thing worldwide, but we do it one person at a time. And there's all these beautiful, spiritual contradictions, I like to call, that kind of play in to what we do. In order to keep it, you got to give it away. In order to live, you have to die, and all the things that come with the St. Francis prayer. As we, move forward, I hope we can each have that. That's even when we don't feel like it. Even when we kind of drag our feet. I got to do this. I got to go to that meeting. I got to open up. Got to go to that intergroup meeting. Whatever. We do it because we do have that sense of duty. As well as Bob said, the joy that comes from reaching out and being of service and giving away what we so freely have been given. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to be with you all. I know so many of you and love so many of you. And because you had a sense of duty, I got to meet you wherever, at a convention, at a meeting, in some other country. And that I'm grateful for that and for each one of you. So I'll turn it back over to the meeting lead.